Wal-Mart Karen demands I let her take my baby in the bathroom alone. It's not always easy to find a changing station as a single father. I needed to change my baby's diaper, but the only station was in the women's bathroom. A woman offered to help me out, but I wasn't comfortable putting my baby in a room alone with a strange woman. Every woman who witnessed the exchange turned on me, and to be honest, I can't help but think race might have been a part of the issue. So, for a little context, I am a single father to my 4-month-old baby girl. I lost her mom due to pregnancy issues, and I haven't been able to go anywhere without my kid. I work from home, and I take her to get groceries with me, as I don't trust other people enough to hire a babysitter. Around 2 days ago, I was at Walmart shopping for some formula and other essentials for my baby. As you know, babies poop. Mine was no exception. As soon as I realized what was going on, I made my way to the family bathroom to change her. But there was no changing station in there for her. I went into the men's bathroom, and there wasn't one in there either. So I asked one of the female workers if there were any bathrooms I could change her in, and a lady a couple feet away from us overheard our exchange. She looked to be in her 40s and had 3 kids with her. She came up to me and offered to change my child for me, as there was a changing station in the women's bathroom. Again, I'm not comfortable with other people alone with my kid, and yes, I know eventually she will get older and go out on her own all the time, but she's only 4 months old as of now. Anyway, I declined her offer, but asked the worker I was talking to if she could check if there was anyone in the women's bathroom so I could go change her in there. The other woman that came over to me says it's inappropriate for a man to go into a woman's bathroom, and offered to change my baby again. I refused and said that she's a stranger and I'd rather not leave her with my child. I guess this made her tick, because she started to go off on this tangent about how I'm a man and she's a woman, and she knows more than me when it comes to being a parent, which is probably true as I'm still new to this, and she said I should just let her change my baby as the smell could cause a disturbance. I was over it at this point. My child was crying and she smelled like a rotten corpse. I walked past the lady and made my way over to the woman's bathroom. She blocks my way with her shopping cart and calls me a pervert. There's a small crowd gathering from all the commotion, and I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea, so I walk into the family bathroom and change her on my lap. I had to take my shirt off as some of her boo-boo got on it. Basically, I'm just saying, forget it, I'll just shop somewhere else, and leave the restroom. As I'm walking out, I'm getting glares from every woman that was around, looking at me like I did something bad. I didn't even pay for the formula I got. I just left the cart and ended up going to Target. I talked to some of my female coworkers about it, and they said I was completely in the wrong, but my wife's parents are backing me on this. I can't help but think that maybe I am just being an overbearing parent. I'm not sure, and it's starting to weigh down on me. Am I the jerk? Edit. My wife was Asian American, and I'm African American. My baby looks pretty pale compared to me. In my area, there's not a lot of cultural diversity. I'm not from here either, so I look pretty out of place and naturally sketchy, as I've been told. There are 2 ways to go on this. On one hand, it sometimes does take a village. Parents help each other out. That said, it's a lot easier when you actually know the parent in question. Some people, unfortunately, can't be trusted. It's hard to imagine this woman would have done anything to this original poster's baby while she had 3 kids in tow, but crazier things have probably happened. He just wanted to be safe, and I can't see why he was so distrusted when he specifically asked to go into the woman's restroom by himself. He didn't want to go in while other people were in there. It seems like out of a crowd of women and all of his female coworkers, at least one person should have been sympathetic. Granted, walking out of the restroom shirtless and holding a baby probably had a lot to do with some of the glares he was getting. At least a couple of commenters think the race differences had the women thinking he was a kidnapper. I'm sure maybe 1 or 2 thought it, but would it really have been the group consensus? That seems extreme, but I also don't know where OP lives. What do you think? Would you have trusted this woman? It sounds like OP wasn't in the wrong either way, but would being more trusting have prevented the situation? What would you do in his shoes? I pleasured myself onto a stranger to save her life. Yesterday, I went to the beach with a couple of friends. After a while, we started joking around with the girls who were lying next to us. We got friendly and started playing and swimming all together. One girl tried to show that she could swim with her face down and feet above the water. When she did that, she got attacked by a jellyfish and started screaming like heck. She pointed at her chest, and it was really red. If you guys ever watched Friends, you might know where this is going. Well, there's an episode of Friends where Chandler peed on Monica to save her from a jellyfish sting, and it came up in my mind. So I told the girl to get on her knees, as this would be good for her. She refused at first, but after a while, she got on her knees. I told my friends to turn around and form a circle so the people on the beach wouldn't see my bratwurst. Thankfully, they did, and the girls were just holding the hand of the girl who was attacked by the jellyfish. Well, I lowered my shorts and tried to let go. I'm sure guys can relate, but it was kind of impossible to tinkle while 3 girls were on their knees looking at my skin pickle. So I told them I was having issues. One of the girls said that since the magic comes from my flesh carrot, maybe my seed would be helpful too. My baby arm was already hard, so yeah, I may as well try it. She told me that she was not going to lick my cream pop to fruition, so I simply pleasured myself in front of the 3 girls. Eventually, I fire on the right spot, her chest, and the other girls rubbed my nut butter into her lady mounds. After I went home, I got a text from my girlfriend telling me she was breaking up with me because of this. As I found out later, one of the girls was friends with my girlfriend. I tried to explain to my girlfriend that this was not cheating, and that I might have saved her life. But she called me a jerk for shooting Dude Ranch on 3 girls. So am I the jerk for helping a girl? You're the jerk for traumatizing my search history by making me check the science on this. Also, did she tell you unsolicited that she wasn't going to use her mouth? Or did you actually take the time during this medical emergency to ask her? Because I feel like 9 out of 10 women would have a problem with that, and the other 1 out of 10 are probably overdue for therapy. In any case, my science check revealed that the Friends episode in question was nonsense. It did suggest that man milk can help with a scorpion sting, but the source was from the 1st century. Just carry some calamine lotion in your beach bag for goodness sake. To clarify, I don't really believe this story. I believe the writer would love it if it were true, and that's honestly kind of terrifying. He literally wrote a fantasy where no women touch him, and he winds up losing his girlfriend anyway. What kind of dark hole do you have to fall into for these to be the stars you're shooting for? Also, if you really tried this remedy, wouldn't sand get stuck to her chest? Because that's kind of gross. There are days that just browsing Reddit makes me feel like I need a shower, and this is one of them. Also, fun fact, apparently some male jellyfish have stingers that go off inside the female during reproduction. Thanks, Google. I'm sure I'll make a lot of friends at parties with that new information. If you made it this far in the video, consider liking and subscribing for more videos coming. I asked my wife to shower for my guy friend, and she was totally unreasonable about it. My good friend is on the spectrum. I don't know if how I'm speaking about this will come across as offensive, but he's on the less severe side of things. He's verbal and can read social cues decently well. The only tells are his aversion to a few sensory-related things and his stims. He rocks almost constantly if he's sitting still, has a few verbal stims, etc. It's not something he shares with a lot of people. He got a diagnosis later in life since his parents just thought he was a weird kid while he was growing up. Him confiding in me about this didn't change anything between us, but some of the stories he's shared broke my heart a little and have made me feel more protective of him. Due to the AC going out in his apartment and not being able to be fixed for a few days, he came to stay with my wife and I. He can't sleep unless it's on silk sheets, so I ran out and bought some the day he asked to sleep over. I wanted him to be as comfortable as possible. Sensory issues aren't simple requests, they're genuine needs. My wife was already a little annoyed by that and pointed out that I hadn't done that for any of our other guests. Then, halfway through his second day with us, he pulled me aside and asked me to fix whatever smell was going on in the house, that it was hurting his head and really bothering him. After some investigation on our part, we figured out it was the perfume my wife was wearing. I politely asked my wife if she would go get changed or shower so that my friend could enjoy dinner with us. She not only refused, but she tried kicking my friend out for being high maintenance. I put an end to that quickly. I realize she's not clued in on his needs, but he's a guest in our home all the same. His diagnosis is his to share and his alone. I have refused to budge on any of the issues. According to an email he got, the AC in his building should be back up and running again tomorrow. My wife booked a hotel for the night and is insisting that one of them, either herself or my friend, go and stay there for the night. My friend is clearly distraught over this, and I just can't send him off on his own when he's clearly upset after all that's happened. Am I the jerk? You're not the jerk for helping a friend, but you're completely the jerk from your wife's perspective. Technically, it's true that the friend has a right to decide who knows about his sensory issues, but he can't expect people to cater to them without even knowing they exist. If she wants to wear her own perfume in her own house, that's her business. And if it took investigation to figure out what the smell was, it's hard to imagine that it's unreasonably strong. A few commenters have said that a good host should do whatever it takes to make their guest comfortable, but that's not a very nuanced view. There are rules to being a good host, but there are rules to being a good guest as well. If you don't like how your host lives, then you always have the option of getting a hotel. Also, silk sheets aren't cheap. You don't run out and get them from the bargain bin at Wal-Mart. If both OP and his friend can afford them, then either one of them could have afforded a hotel room. Instead, the wife had to book it herself. And regardless of whether she's consciously testing you, trust me that it's still possible to fail. Let her take the hotel if you want, but don't expect things to smooth over quickly when she comes back. My daughter-in-law's angry that I can't tell the difference between autism and depression. My youngest son recently married his wife. We live in different states and usually only see each other for holidays. Our son's elder brother was recently diagnosed with autism. While our younger son and now daughter-in-law were still dating, he brought her home to us so we could meet her. She's always been a little off. She's shy and awkward and prefers doing stuff on a computer to being outdoors. My husband and I are very outdoorsy and live an active life, so I guess we clashed a bit there. She's always been nice, and in the beginning of their relationship, she participated in a lot of our activities, even if she wasn't great at them. She comforted our eldest son after his diagnosis, which was a hard blow for all of us. She said she also felt awkward and weird at times, and that it was okay to be different. I suspected maybe she meant this as a way of telling us she was on the spectrum too. About 2 years ago, they had their first kid. They had some issues conceiving and lost a baby before having their daughter. She's a great kid, and we love her so much. But ever since the daughter was born, my daughter-in-law has become even more awkward around us. We invited them over to celebrate the 4th of July. Daughter-in-law was tired and didn't participate in any outdoor activities, but instead insisted on working on the computer while our son was the one playing with his daughter outdoors. I asked her what she was doing in front of the screen all the time, and she just told me she was catching up on work. This just seemed off to me, because why wouldn't she want to play with her husband and kid outside? My husband and I spoke privately about our worries that she's not participating in her daughter's childhood at all and leaving it all to her husband. We both agreed that we should talk to her about it. After dinner, and yes, there were drinks involved, I went away to do the dishes, and I heard raised voices. When I came back to the table, my daughter-in-law was crying as my husband was telling her off quite sharply. He said some things that might have been a bit harsh, but nothing untrue. She stormed off crying, instead of discussing the issue further. I followed her to try and talk down the situation, and I told her we were just worried about her, them as a couple and their daughter. This is when I told her that I think she should seek help or counseling for autism, as I figured that was why she was struggling with motherhood. She was extremely offended and told me she was not autistic, but suffering from postpartum depression. They packed their bags and left in a hurry. Later, we saw that she had unfriended both my husband and me on Facebook and blocked us from messaging her. They haven't spoken to us since. Our son is apparently furious, according to his brother. We can't reach out to explain our side of things now that we're blocked. Both of us meant well, and it came from a place of worry for our grandchild. Am I the jerk? I'm not sure this OP is trying to be a jerk, but she's definitely allowing ignorance to guide her into some pretty jerk-like behaviors. Let's go down the list. First, she knows that this woman doesn't like outdoor activities, yet still judges her by whether she participates in them. Second, she sees this woman catching up on work one time and assumes that she never plays with her child at all. Third, she very notably leaves out the details of her husband's conversation while expecting us to believe that everything he said was true. Fourth, she gave an armchair diagnosis based on absolutely nothing. Roughly 1 to 2% of the population is diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. You might not have known it was that low, since it pops up in about 98% of Reddit posts. It's ridiculous to diagnose anyone you meet simply because they're shy. Sometimes, believe it or not, people are actually just shy. Sometimes they're quite outgoing, but simply don't enjoy being around you specifically. It does seem extreme to block family members from all communication because of one misunderstanding, no matter how severe. But it's also hard to believe this is the first time OP or her husband have spoken the truth in a way that was neither warranted nor desired. It's just the first time she's had to face the consequences of it. This daughter-in-law probably had issues with OP for quite a while, but this was the straw that broke her. I think that if this OP really does mean well, she's capable of change. If, that is, she hasn't buried the relationship too deeply to be given a chance. Not all of the comments on her post have been so nice. What do you think? Is this salvageable? Would you give her a second chance if you were her daughter-in-law? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.